Hello, welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. So I want to talk a little bit about the energies that I've been feeling and experiencing personally, and then I might go into a little flow from there. I think I'm going to start out with the flow. Let some light language one to come in. So this is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis. Let's flow. Te ao no koe kia uno kuno e ni tiki ne ao no I te a kua uahane te kina ha mukune ao uahete a ne sta mukuno e tena kina a huku ne wa ati ne ane kune ati ne a ku aha ine. And there's much being pulled up from the depths of our cellular matrix, if you will. Play on words. There is much being pulled up from the layers of the earth, the I'm hearing interceptory, interception, intercepting, intersections, intercellular, inception points, inceptions. This is being filtered through our perception, our perspective. And as we allow ourselves to pull up from ourselves, our cells, our bones, our own inner earth ergonomics. A lot of this, what I'm saying, is a play on words. Some of it times it's connected into astrology. Sometimes it's connected into the body. Sometimes it's just a play on words. As we allow ourselves to ergo that which is no longer acceptable. Ooh, big play on words. Te kuna te awahak unoe te nekiti esta kunoeana. We are being invited to restore our faith in our own humanity. We are being invited to restore our own faith in our own technology, our own inner ability to move and morph through the changes that are upon us. As we allow ourselves to hone in on our deeper essence, as we allow all that is coming up, that is piling on us energetically, so to speak, as we allow ourselves to tune into our own fortune. It's play on words, fortune, value. We allow ourselves to harmonize and stabilize the higher frequencies that are coming in, that are coming down the chute, so to speak, that are coming down the line. And we allow ourselves to stabilize the energies that are coming up, and away. Kuno in esta kunoa. Play on words, up in away. Send me on my way. Send me on my way. So that's roots. All that is within us that is not, that is a farce, so to speak. Being guided to look up that word. That is false evidence appearing real, is surfacing for many. This farce, tukur at akar akur, te en akar akur at eshtakur. does not need to be focused on, so to speak. It can be pulled up, and up-leveled, so to speak. I'm hearing upheaval, like heave-ho, like get rid of it. We do not have to hang on to it. We do not have to figure it out. We do not have to think about it figuratively. Remembering that thoughts become things. Remembering memory. Play on words, I gotta play with this a little bit. Memory structures converge and accumulate to create with them a bandwidth. These memory structures accumulate, play on words, everything in here is a play on words, to then allow us to accelerate or de-accelerate. That which slows us down or makes us dense, so to speak, is not the same as slowing down to then shift through the density, to see through. I keep hearing ergodynamics, argonauts. For our density patterns have been swaying us for too long. They are coming up full force, full throttle, if you will. And that which seemed at one time to support us, or that we felt supported by, is now knocking our teeth around. It's like a knockout punch. Taking us for a spin, taking us for a ride, so to speak. We are being invited. I kept hearing earlier, what are we going to own? What value system are we going to hone in on? What are we going to call our home base? What are we going to continue to hang on to that is no longer fitting in the new alchemy, in the adjustments that are being made? What is it that we feel so attached to that as soon as we get we get knocked around a little bit, and those realities and attachments are like all of a sudden they show up and rear their ugly head, and we're like, whoa. Are we going to reattach that to us and say, well, I need that because that's who I am and that's what that is? Or are we going to let it go up the chute, is what I'm hearing. Chutes and ladders. Recognizing that within our own matrix is circumstantial evidence. I have to write this out because I'm recognizing that this is all a play on words. What we stand for and what we circumvent, so to speak, what we speak about, what we create and what we think, that then comes about, that then can create doubt, that allows us to pass it off as a concept, conceptual reality. We have stepped out of the phase of I'm hearing conceiving. So it's like, what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing 10 different things. So I'm just gonna rein it back in. So I'm hearing conceptually, in this conception, we think things were birthed in a certain way. And conceptually, in that conception, they were. In that particular realm in which the conception took place, so to speak, or took the place of, held a certain truth, a certain amount of substantiated evidence. Yet much of this is false evidence appearing real. This is not just fear, although that is one huge piece of the puzzle. It is also false evidence appearing real, or literal, as one might say. For as we literally start to break down our vocabulary and start to piece together the fractal in which we have fraternized with and recognize that we have been breaking things down only to build them back up from a new, honed in, cone shape reality. Seeing physics, I'm seeing like a lot of different things here. I'm seeing a lens, like we're breaking things down and saying, well, this is what this means to me. And now I'm going to break that down and figure it out. And then I'm going to say, because this means this to me, that must mean that this is my reality. That's the most simple way for me to say what I'm seeing. And we are being invited to recognize that many of our own abilities have been glossed over. All right, so I'm being guided to talk about this as I am behind a car that has rainbow in their license plate, has minions, and 369. Golden, I'm thinking about the golden means, I'm thinking about golden frequency. So what I'm being shown is Snow White, glass coffin. What is that? Those that live in glass houses, right? Glass coffin was shown to me with Snow White. It represents going to sleep and being kept in this chamber until being awoken by a prince, which is us. In Snow White, just like very other fairy tales, Sleeping Beauty, etc., etc., the princess goes to sleep, or she gets poisoned by an apple in Snow White, right? That this egoic stepmother gives her. Now, the apple is also used in the Bible and so many other stories. And again, I'm not saying the Bible is just a story. I'm just calling it that because it's a book written by people, men and women. So one might refer to it as a book. Others might call it a story. Some might call it truth, whatever. It's not what this is about. The apple is used in many different references, we'll call it. And in Snow White, the apple is poisoned. Now, if we have a toroidal spin and our heart is not open and it's poisoned, it collapses, it puts us in a place of toxicity. And then what happens is we are then in a glass house. From one perspective, there's so many different variations I could talk about here. Snow White is pristine. She has her 7 dwarfs, 7 chakras, 7 dimensions, 7 realities, 7 colors. I mean, I could go on and on. There's more, but I'm just sharing the story of Snow White. And what happens is this apple, poison apple, is what causes her to fall asleep. Now, many of us didn't have our hearts open. We thought we did, that have been on this journey, and then all of a sudden the heart opens and we're like, whoa, I just saw a whole new world from a completely different perspective. And all of a sudden everything is more vibrant and we forgive people easier. It doesn't mean that we're like that all the time. Some of us fluctuate in and out of that. But we're really being invited to play with this a little bit. So I'm going to come back to this in just a moment. I was shown the glass coffin. Oh, I'm being shown that a lot of us, our DNA was asleep or kept separate, covered. It was there, you could see it, but you couldn't get to it from one perspective. It's kind of like my thing where I keep saying, that's a whole other video. Somebody wrote in the comments, by the way, thank you, because that was hilarious. You should do a whole section of videos, and the section could be called "That's Another Video," because I do that all the time. Because we could do a whole video on Snow White and the 7 dwarfs and different meanings. All right, so I'm being shown shaking things up, and I'm being shown lottery numbers being shaken up, and I'm hearing Powerball. So I'm seeing all these numbers being shaken up inside this glass case. And then these numbers come out. I'm seeing letters and numbers spitting out of this glass case. And I keep having this reference to Columbine. Now, this isn't to be mistaken for a negative association. And by the way, this is a perfect example of sometimes we hear words and they have been attached with negative connotations or false evidence appearing real, when in actuality, that was a word long before this negative polarized event happened that now triggers people to think of a fear-based, I'm hearing insignia. Okay, I had to park. Let me just continue this. And what we attach ourselves to, what meanings we associate with the lottery. Oh, I'm seeing this as so many different meanings. Like, some people think that it's the luck of the draw. Other people are hoping that that's their way out. I'm just seeing that we're the ones creating this lottery. But this is also layer after layer after layer. I'm hearing stick geometry. Tuku rahana te kina waha te ao ne te okua te namokonoa. We are being invited to let go and let flow. As we allow ourselves to see through, we recognize that we have been encased within a space that is now free. We have the freedom to choose the numbers in which we wish to play. We have a freedom in our way of playing, if you will. We have a freedom in our reign, in our geometry. Tukur at ar akur. I'll have to come back and play with the lottery aspect of it, because I keep seeing these Powerball. Such big energy just came in. I'm like, woo! That's how I feel. One of those little lottery balls, pew, pew, spinning around. What combinations will we create? What letter and number combinations are we creating? What is it that we are bringing into our reality? What are we considering to be luck of the draw? Play on words. As we ask ourselves these questions, we begin to recognize that what we see in front of our very eyes is not necessarily the reality. For what we think we see is really filtered through our perception of reality, our perspective of what it is that we have been taught to see. And as the lines thin, I'm hearing Rage Against the Machine. Those that, I can't remember what song it is. All I hear him is screaming, Rage Against, and those that bore crosses. So I'm hearing this crosses to bear, killing in the name of. So, yeah, okay. I'm seeing this reference to people are taking up this cross to bear because they think they have to, or because they've been bearing it for so long that if they get rid of it, the story about who they are, what they believe in, that if they get rid of it, they won't know what to do because that's all they've done is bear this cross for so long. Also, they feel like that gives them power. That gives them control. And if they get rid of this cross that they've been carrying, and this is just a visual, like, think about how heavy it would be. I'm going to continue with this. This is not necessarily about the Bible. It's a play on words. And so I'm being invited to remind everybody Okay, 3 different things. So first of all, how heavy would that be to bear this cross when all of a sudden, let's say we're like, no, you don't have to carry it anymore. You're good. All is forgiven, right? Or no one's going to come save you. You're fine. Oh, okay, I don't have to carry this thing all around anymore. People are going to feel naked. They're not going to have a, what's the word? Not just a goal, but yeah, a goal. They're not going to have this. What if they didn't have that cross to bear? And this is a representative of a belief system about ourselves. You know, it could be somebody telling themselves all the time that they feel fat. I've been fat my whole life. I've had back pain problems my whole life. I was abused. You know, these are stories that I've told myself before. And then it comes to the point where you go, well, and what does that mean? Is that, do I wish to carry that burden anymore, right? Do I wish to own that as my story, or am I ready to let that go? I lost my second train of thought, which was, crosses. So I'm hearing cross the T's and dot the I's. Like, don't take words so seriously. We own these words, and we've been taught these words have certain meanings, and people, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute, because when I also say cross, I'm seeing it a cross. So our cross is our chest, it's our heart, it's our connection with source. It's our connection to our energy that goes up the ladder. It's connecting in, it's a cross, it's an access point, exit point, but also an access point. So the center of the cross, where the frequency of love ignites, what if that were lighter and it weren't just this heavy, dense energy? I'm being guided to also remind oversensitivity. So many people are being triggered right now by words, by false evidence appearing real, by words that they have attached themselves to a meaning, and they refuse to see past or through the veil, or they can't see through it because they're still stuck in their glass coffin or glass house, and they don't realize they're in it. So this just what I'm seeing. This is all from my own perspective. So I'm hearing limbo. A lot of people are in limbo. What's the song, Limbo? How loose can you goose? How low can you go? I'm being guided to talk about lucid dreaming, lucidity. So sometimes I'll be guided to have a lucid dream, and I'm so stuck in my dream. Like, I'll be trying to answer my phone in my dream, and that's usually a sign to go lucid at that moment. Because if you look at your hands in a lucid dream, your hands will not be the same. And sometimes I'm so stuck in my dream, and I'm so set in, I have to call this number, and I'll get so frustrated in my dream. And then I wake myself up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I was trying to wake myself up in my dream, but I was so honed in on that one subject that I was missing the bigger picture. And I'm seeing that that's a big portion of this, which I've talked about before, but it's like, how expansive can we be? And if we are, what words are triggering us? Why are those words triggering us? And why is it so important that we attach a meaning to it? What is it, circumstance, what story, what program is triggering us to be angry, to be fearful, to be offended? That's a big word that's coming through right now. Off-ended. No one can create, unless someone is in our face saying you are awful, and even then that's their opinion. So people are highly sensitive, heightened sensitivity, because their glass houses are encasing them in a reality that's very fragile. And as soon as that cracks, that reality is exposed, a piece of it isn't as, it's a shell. And then all of a sudden it's empty. And it's same thing as carrying a heavy cross or a burden to bear, right? Get into the real heart of the matter. And all of that empty bubble, once it's popped, it's difficult and challenging for people right now to find their center, because all of a sudden they go, what is my center? I thought my center was this story. I thought my center was this political leader. I thought my center was this church. I thought my center was this family member who is no longer supportive of me. This family member may no longer be supportive of our beliefs. But again, let's go a little deeper. Does that mean we do not forgive and allow the family member to be in their own story? Or do we get triggered by that family member no longer supporting our story? Our beliefs. How dare you, my friend Kat says. How dare you not support what I believe, even though I'm right? But we're even being asked to kind of go there too, like, I know I'm right about this particular subject, but that person also has the right to believe they're right. And if they're not harming somebody, I recognize that I sometimes am just here to offer space. That doesn't mean that I have to go and commingle and have conversations with and activities with that person who does not support my story or my reality. I can choose to separate myself or not be as involved with that particular individual because we're not necessarily on the same path. But it's okay to not necessarily be on the same path. I know it can be frustrating for a lot of people right now because there's so many different paths. I was just having this conversation the other day. There's so many different stories, even the story within the story. We might agree with someone 100% in so many different ways, and then all of a sudden on a major part of our reality, they don't see it or they don't agree, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I thought we understood each other, but apparently we don't. Then people get overly sensitive and they're like, well, we can't be friends anymore if that's how you feel. Whoa. And let's flip-flop that. The pot calling the kettle black. That's happening a lot. Usually somebody that calls everybody else drama is usually drama themselves. That's what I've learned, right? Somebody else is calling everybody else a narcissist. If somebody's got a lot of narcissists in their life, one or two, understandable, but everybody's a narcissist, probably they might want to stop and look in the mirror. And I do that too. If I'm looking around going, everybody's crazy, I'm crazy too, in my own way. Not everybody's walking around speaking light language, right? That's my normal. But that might make me crazy according to somebody else's story. But in my never-ending story, I feel like I always want to be expanding. And I really am in that space of how much can I expand, how lucid can I get, and how much can I be in a place of fluidity so that I'm less likely to judge others when they're obviously not in a place of fluidity, when they're living in that glass coffin. It's not a glass house, it's a glass coffin. Because if people are in that too long, they begin to shut down, they begin to get sick or create disease, and so on and so forth. So there's so many different layers here. I mean, there's so many different pieces of the pie. Cool, and yet it all comes from the same pie. And we are being invited to aim high, aim higher than that which is being presented to us. For what is being presented to us in many forms is a form that is losing its consistency, that is losing its way, has lost its way, and is merely in the process of breaking down. And as it breaks down into dissolution, we are the solution. We are the solvent, so to speak. I'm hearing solvane, like the veins. We are the ones that are creating the body that is holding space so that it doesn't all fall apart, because we want it to fall apart, But we want to try to process this with as much love and understanding and compassion as we can, as the world, kind of old world views crumble, right? For as this pulls apart at the seams, it feels, I'm hearing wonky, and I'm seeing it stretches us beyond what seems possible. It stretches us past our typical type A limitations and complexity. It stretches us past our seeming and so-called boundaries. It causes us to reach higher than, farther than the old versions of us. I'm seeing the old version was stronger, faster, better, smarter, bigger, right? More. The old version was like, yeah, I always want to strive for more. But more was not being in stillness, not being in compassion. More was bigger this, better that. Not bigger as in multidimensional. It was bigger in materialism. So it was like, I have to work harder so I can get this bigger house, so that I can get this better car, so that I can have more money to do this. And now I'm not saying that that's wrong. That is a version of reality in which 3D was essentially built upon. Materialism. And while doing those things, is what I'm hearing, isn't wrong, nor is it something that we do not have to continue to do, it's no longer necessary to thrive in a more expansive environment. So earlier I said reach higher, but we're reaching for higher knowing. We're reaching for higher expansiveness, not higher realms in the material plane. We're not trying to build skyscrapers that are built from the same building materials, that house the same components. So we're not trying to build a new company that's built under, I'm hearing, a false regime. So yes, this is our brand new company, but it's got the same owners and the same principles. That is not aiming higher, even though the building might look higher and it's been shape shifted a little bit. We're being invited to let all of that go and to go more multidimensional. And that means oftentimes we'll be asked to go beyond our capacity for saying, well, that's my limitation. So oftentimes people can go, I've talked about this before. Oh yeah, the Pentagon released information that there's aliens. And we may have, our limitation before may have been that's not real, it doesn't exist. But because a person of authority says that it does exist now, we now accept that as our story and we go, okay, I believe that. I own that as part of my reality. I value that as part of my story and system.